Cranium Frenzy, number 50.
The closest star, the sun, erased all the others from the sky during the day. But I knew they were there, above our farm. As the earth rotated into night, the stars revealed themselves one by one. With no city lights and the only sounds being wind and occasional coyote howl, a clear evening sky provided a never-ending sense of wonder. And yet, I only think of disconnected, silly, and sketchy random junk memories sunk deep, seldom retrieved without a prompt. I recall the first time I was starstruck. It was around 1961 when we visited a home show in Tacoma. My mother stopped in front of a pretty young woman and asked me, "Do you know who this is?" I sure did. It was Sherry Lewis. Sherry patted me on top of my crew-cut cranium and declared, "What a cute little boy."
You can trust your car to the man who wears the star, the big, bright Texaco star.
Funny how stupid commercial jingles still stick in the head many decades later. So much television, we grew up mesmerized in one long 1960s laugh track. And then there were countless of variety shows, featuring singers like Perry Como, who we called Perry Comatose due to his laid-back style. My father had a limited repertoire of lyrics he constantly sang, and that was one of them. So whenever I hear that song, it is my father's voice I hear. We saw a lot of what we called falling stars or shooting stars at night on the farm, but they were probably meteors or man-made space debris. The magical thinking of wishing upon a star never worked for me, not unlike so-called manifesting. And as for finding a star to follow, there were too many choices, a malady somewhat peculiar to my generation. Je move à la tendre indifference du monde. What's that you say? Pretentious? Moi? Yes, around 1965, I fell off the top of the slide on a playground of Roosevelt School in Olympia, and apparently cracked my skull. The same crew-cut cranium earlier patted by Sherry Lewis. Sure, I know what you're thinking, but I was already drawing cartoons long before this accident. You okay, Steve? In junior high algebra class, I handed in math paper which was illuminated by cartoons. My teacher returned it with, "Yep, that's my thin claim to celebrity. I knew Matt Groening in college. We first met as neighbors in 1974. In 2012, he earned a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. My question is, where are the stars for Strother Martin and Sebastian Cabot?" Matt wasn't the only contemporary of mine who has found critical and financial success. All of them had some things in common: ambition, drive, direction, a sense of business, hustle, and not least of all, talent. Plus a bit of circumstantial luck, but they played the odds well. Do I envy them? Only when I have to pay my bills. Freeze frame. Strother Martin had a small part in A Star is Born in 1954. Pay attention to this bit of trivia. It will be important later. And speaking of stars, the one character who took over my little comics universe was this guy, Morty the dog. Hiya. Who became almost famous with the help of Steve Starhead of Starhead Comics. But Starhead fell in the late 1990s. It was a falling star of terrible beauty. You can think in duality terms of life and death, or energy just transfers in a state of constant rebirth and evolution. In the later case, Starhead's influence is still with us. Thank you, Michael Dowers. At this point, I must lodge a protest concerning the pseudoscience of astrology, as it is written in the stars, the worst form of prejudice I can think of. Okay, cool your jets, preacher. Let us consult our old pal, Willie the Shake. Cassius and Julius Caesar. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves, that we are underlings. Does that make you feel better? I can live with that. Geez, what a Scorpio. Of course you know Cassius died horribly in defeat. Yeah, sure, I knew that. No, you didn't. Hey, did you notice there are no more 5-pointed stars in the panels? Nice attempt at diversion, but yes, it is now daylight. The only star we see is the sun. In fact, right now the sun is behind me, illuminating the back of my cranium in an unusual way. My sideburns are magnified by the inside reflection of the lens of my glasses. Even though my hair is losing color, I can still see traces of the red fuse of my angry Scottish ancestors in there. Each photon looks like a little star. You know, we could do the whole multiple silent panel thing, where I stare at you and say nothing for a panel or two, and then use comic timing to deliver a punchline. But I'll cut to the chase and just say it plain. You've taken this free writing concept too far, you nut. Your writing teacher, Peter Elbow, wrote that you had discovered the limits of drollery. He had a point. So what do you want me to do? Do I continue to use metaphor and symbolism spiced with humor to create rambling, absurd scenarios, or just tell my truth with no frosting? You know the answer. Oh, you mean why am I dinking around celebrating frivolity while we Americans are enduring an authoritarian nightmare? A regime filled with liars, grifters, pedophiles, sadists, incompetents, foreign assets, white supremacists, warmongers, inside traders, morons, fake Christians, adulterers who spout family values, felons, rapists, wife-beaters, substance abusers, narcissists, sociopaths, demented perverts, and officials selling their services to the highest bidder? Well, I can't do that. It isn't funny. Plus, it's too direct and obvious. Not my style. But you just did. We also just did the silent panel gig, didn't we? I'm afraid so. You're slipping into meta as well. You are a creature of habit. And here with this book I was attempting to expand as an artist. Well, at least you were successful as far as your waistline is concerned. This was supposed to be a light reverie concerning the 5-pointed star symbol. There is the destiny that shapes our ends, rough-hewn, and how we will. Okay, that's from Hamlet. And he died at the end as well, like Cassius. Your Shakespeare quotes sort of cancel each other. So what is it, fate or individual action? Ambiguity. Brain hurts. Here's a reminder that I requested you readers to remember Strother Martin had a small role in A Star is Born, 1954, because it was an important piece of information. Well, I lied. It isn't. That was just a way to break the monotony. This gristle of Strother Martin data has almost nothing to do with this story, such as it is. And at this juncture in the narrative, we're going to step backwards in time, far back, and visit a planet in a distant galaxy. On this celestial body, there were beings who had learned how to live in peace and harmony. Charity, kindness, love, peace. Poverty, war, disease, ignorance, and unhappiness had long been eradicated in this advanced civilization. There was much they could teach us, only if they could reach us. Tolerance, grace, empathy, love. But paradise can only exist for a day at a time. And one day, paradise came to an abrupt end. Poof! What the? When their sun suddenly went through an instant supernova, smashing their planets to bits, sending chunks of it careening through the cosmos for several million years, until little bits of it reached Earth, only to burn up in our atmospheric shell. Look, a shooting star. How beautiful. That's kind of a bummer ending, isn't it, preacher? So much for the benign indifference of the universe. How come everything you touch turns to... Shh. It is the end.